Alright, this is a training video on how to program, set up, and run ProPresenter 7 on Sunday mornings. Here's ProPresenter right here. Here's the icon, so we'll go and start by clicking here. Alright, before we start with loading in a service, we're going to look at our window. First, we have our bar up here. These include many tools and buttons that will go through editing. Text themes, our show, our edit window, a reflow window, Bible. We'll go through all of this, but show is where you're going to hang out most of the time. Also, we've got timers where we have our service countdown. We also have a sermon countdown for whoever's preaching. We can put up on the screen or on the back screen for them to see. Messages, that's if we want to send a message to the stage or the room. We don't really use that, but it's there. Props, again, we're not really using props currently. And then a stage display message if we want to send something to the stage to let them know what's going on. We don't really use those very often other than timers. We also have a store. We're not going to deal with that. And then media. We're going to deal with this a lot. This media bin you're going to use a lot. It will pop up here at the bottom and we'll get into what this is. A media bin is basically a place where we store our videos, our worship backgrounds. For example, this is a folder, worship backgrounds. Now, if you look at this icon, this little bulb, it's actually a smart playlist. These are all smart. And what that basically means is it pulls from a folder on the computer. I've got a folder called Worship Backgrounds right here on the desktop. And I have them all in these folders. We get most of these from shiftworship.com. We have a login with them, and they make some great stuff. And so you can click on a folder. This is Misty Mountain per se. We'll hit our space bar to just preview it. You get all these videos. You get the idea. And so what a smart playlist does is it pulls from the desktop. We currently have everything set up in smart playlists. We have worship backgrounds. We have an Orphan Sunday, which no longer has anything in it because we're done with that. Gospel of John is the series we're currently in, so it has some specific Gospel of John elements that we'll use today. Again, these are other services that we are finished with. TV slides. These are stuff that go on our TVs for announcements and various things like that. Service elements is also another thing. They're very similar. It's very similar to TV slides, but it's more if we have anything special, like Orphan Week in Action Steps, city groups, some special things like that. Current series we're currently not using because I've started creating smart folders for the current series. So yeah, that's the media bin. Right here on the left, you have this library and playlist. Library is where we store all of our stuff that goes in the services. We have messages, songs, different service elements. We also have this emergency tab, which is super important. If for some reason we ever have to evacuate the building, for bad weather or other things, emergency pops up, click warning, and we have some random things right here from the security team. Messages, as you can see, if you pop through these, it changes all down here. Here's messages. Here's songs, different service elements as well. Next, down here we have playlists. These playlists are basically services. Men's breakfast and student folders, that's when we've used those in the past. We're primarily just using this computer for Sundays now. Here's our services. We're going to load in a service fairly soon. But if you click on one and it pops up down here, we'll click on a song. It starts showing up at this main window. Now this main window is where you cycle through a service. Scroll up all the way to the top. You go through our set list. The set list is right here. You can view it in a small form. But basically here's our countdown, intro video, welcome, announcements, different names and stuff. Very simple to actually run. You actually just click and it shows up. Now, if you click here on this little box, this is our preview window. Hit projector, you can see what's on the projector. Hit live stream, you can see what's on the live stream. The reason it's green is because it's a green screen. Whenever you see green, that's when a camera is showing on the live stream. For example, when I hit this name, the name pops up in the bottom, but it's still green. So that will overlay the video. But if I hit these slides, it's set up to actually show that on the video or on the live stream covering up the video. Same with our intro video here. So yes, that's how that works. We'll go back to the projector. This window, like we've said, is our preview. You have all these different options here. We can clear all. That just gives us a blank screen. If we click on here, this slide initiated a foreground and a background. These are backgrounds, these are foregrounds. Go through this. This is video input. This is a background. This is a foreground. This is an announcement slide. These are props, messages, audio. Basically, these are all layers of things you can put over it. For example, our announcements, when I click on our TV slides, now we have an announcement slide. These announcements will be going on the live stream at all times. But in the Worship Center, if we want to show something different on the screen, we can do that. Here we go. So in the projector, we have it set up to show our lyrics, but if you look out in the hallways, we're still showing TV slides. That's really handy for showing different things out in the hallway than what's going on in the Worship Center. To clear all, obviously you hit clear all. To clear one of these, we can clear announcements, clear our foreground, or clear our background. This down here is a music player audio bin. We don't really use our audio bin very much currently. Not to say we don't use it ever, but currently we don't. These are timers. It helps you see a video, how much is left. So if I hit this intro video, we now see this little bar moving. We have 55 seconds left on this video. You can pause it, you can play it, you could skip through it. We don't really want to do that, but that's nice to have. Same announcements layer, music layer, you have different options there. All right, now we're going to get started with loading in our service. The first thing we're going to do is go up here to Library, hit this plus sign, and we're going to click Planning Center Service. Planning Center is a service or a software that we use to plan our services. It's online, it's really easy to use. We schedule our people through it. This is the easiest way to plan a service. You can also just create Add Playlist, which will hit a blank playlist, but that's not what we're going to do today. For planning our Sunday services, we hit this. Then these folders pop up. These are different folders we use on Planning Center. It's pulling from there. We'll hit Churchwide Service, November 22nd. Technically, we're going to use the message from November 15th because we don't have the sermon notes for it yet, but we'll go ahead and plan November 22nd. Select. Now, it pops up at the bottom. There's November 22nd. As you can see, we have all these drop zones, but it lays out exactly what our service is. You also see a view on this side of what our service looks like. So let's start at the top. For the first item here, pre-service music TV slides, we're going to open up service elements. And what we do is put in our weekday slides. Weekday is different than countdown, simply it just doesn't have a countdown on it. Now that it's in, as you can see, each of these slides has 10 seconds. Also, this slide has another icon, this little dude with the mustache. That's a look. That assigns a look to all of these. We'll get into that in a little bit. Then also you can see these have this little sign right here. So it goes back to the beginning. So, all right, when I click here, it shows up on the projector. But as you can see, this target right here is targeting the announcements layer. So it's showing up on announcements, not on foreground or background. That's really handy when we want to do something in the hallways differently than we want to do in the Worship Center. Let's look at all of this. This right here, if you highlight over it, it shows you what it does. Slideshow, notes, arrangements, timeline, our target, and then default transition. What's cool about this transition is we already have default transitions set up down here for the entire service. But if you want this specific item to have a different transition, you can do that. You can also do that to specific slides like this down here. This giving slide has a slightly different transition. That is for a live stream thing. We can look into that in a little bit. But that is our weekday slides. Next, we have countdown. The only difference between weekday and countdown is this one has a countdown. Go back to our service elements. We're already here. We have a TV slides countdown. Throw that in. Same exact slides, same exact thing, same timers. This now has an action, which if you right click, this one has an action, add an action to clear the announcement. You see it's grayed out. That's what that little X is by that. This also has a look. If you right click on here, add an action, an audience look. Audience looks are if you want to send something different to the live stream than you're sending to the projector. We have these all preset. We'll get into those in a little bit. This also has a countdown at the bottom, as you can see. This countdown is initiated by the timers. Service countdown. We want it to count down to 10:45 a.m. That's when our service starts. You hit start, it goes ahead and starts. That's thrown off because I'm playing this at 10:56 a.m. on a Wednesday. So let's go ahead and redo that to 11 o'clock here. Makes it make more sense. Start. All right, we have got 3 minutes and 0 seconds until 11 o'clock. As you can see now over here on our service or on our projector, you see that countdown going down. That countdown is going to be on every single slide. That shows our people in the hallways as well as in the worship center how much time until we start. The next item we have is this service intro video. Now this is not coming from Service Elements, it is an individual video. It's going to come from our media bin. We have this located in our Service Elements. Intro video 2 is what we're using right now. We'll pop that in there. Now, to play that, there's a big play button. You just hit play. You see it pop up, starts playing. You have these bars right here that shows you that video has audio. There you go. You have this timer. We'll go ahead and pause that. Now there's something new here, this inspector. If you click on here, you have so many tools to edit this video. You have your info. You have properties. This is where you can change how the scaling works, how it looks, alignment as well. We keep all that pretty much the same. Playback behavior. If you want the video to stop at the end, you hit stop. If you want the video to loop, where it goes back to the beginning, you hit loop. That's really nice for worship backgrounds. We have all of our worship backgrounds set to loop because they're technically videos. You have some more options on here. You can have it fade to black at the end. You can do all kinds of stuff. Effects. You hit this plus. You have all kinds of tools you can get into. If we want to blur the video, if we want to change the color, we can do all kinds of stuff. So we won't get into that today, but you get the idea. Audio. If you want a video to be silent, just mute it. Boom. Now it's muted. You can boost the volume, reduce the volume. You can do all kinds of stuff. So that's what the inspector does. It's a really nice place for tools. All right, we'll go ahead and close our media bin for now. Let's go to our next one. Welcome, guests, and announcements. This is in our service elements. Welcome, announcements. Just drag it in. There we go. So let's say this Sunday, I just talked with Chad actually about our announcements for Sunday. Abby Grace is going to be doing the announcements. So I have her name. As you can see, it's kind of grayed out. That's because it's disabled. If you hit enable, it shows up. But I like to keep these names down here so we can do what we're doing right now. Just dragging them up. Let's put it right after this logo. I am not doing announcements. Neither is Derek Brothers. We will remove them. Derek did it last week. So we'll go ahead and just move that down. All right. So here's where, right after this video plays, it hits the end. Our little logo pops up. Song ends. We go to this slide. Then Abby Grace comes up. She says, "Welcome to Grace Point." We pop her name up. This slide, as you see, has a 10-second timer because we don't want this to stay up for super long. If you look right here on the live stream, it's also, 10 seconds was over. It actually pops up over the screen. It's set up that way because this has a look. If you can see what kind of look is on it when you click on it. You can hit screens, name title. We have name title set up for this. So then she's going to announce to our guests, welcoming them. We want you to fill out the Connect card in the chair back in front of you. we pop that up on the projector. We see Connect card. We also want you to fill out the Connect card online. We have this Connect card box. We have Advent coming up starting, it's really November 29th. This slide is messed up, but when she announces Advent, boom, we have Advent. Christmas Eve, boom, we have Christmas Eve. Now, there's one thing missing from here. This Sunday, she's also going to announce giving. So we are going to load in our giving slide. I have a specific giving slide. We have a few. We have this one. That one's kind of old. We have this one. That one's kind of old because it's only got 3 things on it. Here we go. So here's our giving slide that we want to load in. So we're going to load that in. We can just pick it up, drag it behind that slide right there. It's really easy to navigate these, move them around wherever you want to put them. This slide has a blank spot down here. It's where we put the giving numbers update. I don't have those on hand, so I'll just leave that blank for now. But you get the idea. So there's our announcements. Now I have a call to worship. This is another section. If we separate our announcements from call to worship, which we're going to do this Sunday, we have, there it is, call to worship in our service elements. Looks kind of weird. So that's probably because it's all squashed and set up wrong. If we right click on it, let's resize it to the projector. That fixed it. All right. This is what we did last time for the call to worship. We did this little liturgy. We probably won't do that this Sunday. So if I hold down the shift button and click, it turns blue. You can also keep holding down shift and select multiple slides. We're just going to delete all that. Call to worship is not planned yet for this Sunday, so I'll just leave that blank for now. All right, now we're going to get into our songs. We're going to pass up Jesus Firm Foundation for now because that's a new one. I will show you how to actually build a song in ProPresenter. But we're going to go to Living Hope because we already have that one. Let's go up here to our tab, hit Songs, scroll down, find Living Hope. You can either scroll down, you can also filter, search for Living Hope. There it is. Or you have this other search option up here. This is like a master search. We can search ProPresenter or search Song Select. We'll do that in a minute. But you can search for anything. It searches all messages, all songs, all service elements. Living Hope. There it is. Take our Living Hope, drag it in, close that. There we go. We now have Living Hope in here. This doesn't look quite right because we had services in the fellowship hall for a while, which the projector was a different size. So I'm going to resize that. Make sure it looks right. There we go. Now the text looks weird. This is because of that service in the fellowship hall. So when we click on this, we are going to we're going to select the whole song here and hit themes. This is really a place where we store templates, themes for songs. We'll go to our simple lyrics. 2 lines Gotham is what we're currently using. Gotham is the name of the font, and I put it in all caps because we're using an all caps font. Click on that, it changes it all. Now, when I click on my background, the background initiates. Then when I click on my foreground, foregrounds show up over the background. If this was set as a background, which you can do, I believe you can do that in Inspector, or there's places where you can change the way it reacts if it's a background or a foreground. But right now they're set as a background and a foreground. You can go through your songs by clicking on slides. You can also go through your songs by hitting the arrow key or the space bar. You can also, if you want to, hit these little keys. That's an S key. It goes straight to that. Or a C key. It goes straight to that. That designates the chorus. Now, as you can see, each of these songs have designations. This is the verse. This is a blank slide. This is verse 2. This is the chorus. Here's verse 3. Here's an ending. How that's built out is in arrangements. This is important. If you go up here, this is our arrangements button. You can also right-click on Living Hope here and select an arrangement. We are doing the Phil Wickham arrangement of the song. The master arrangement is literally just all the sections laid out in order. The Phil Wickham arrangement is where we can actually throw in a verse. You can build it out how you'd like. That's really nice for if we're doing a different version of the song, we can just build a new arrangement versus building a whole new song. So each song can have tons of different arrangements. But that is where we're doing Living Hope. Now we're going to go back to our service, November 22nd. Go back to Living Hope. There's Living Hope. All right. We're doing another song here, To God Be the Glory. I don't believe we have To God Be the Glory in our playlist currently. We don't. So I'm going to go ahead and go back up to Jesus Firm Foundation, and we're going to build a song. First, I start with hitting search. Then I hit Song Select. Song Select is a service put out by CCLI. CCLI is the Christian Copyright Licensing something. They handle all of our licensing. And we have a subscription with them where we can get all of those, access to all of those lyrics and all of those songs. So, Jesus Firm Foundation. We want this one by Brian Brown, Jason Ingram, and Tony Wood. You kind of have to know who the writers are, but what's nice, you can click on here, you can see the lyrics. Yep, that's the song we're talking about. Import. Now we have a few options here. Slides delimited by line break or paragraph break. We'll do a line break. And we want 2 delimiters per slide. 2 meaning we want 2 lines of text per slide. Size, you can choose your size. You can choose your templates. We want that template. We want it to go to the songs library. We could put it in a special playlist, but we don't really do that. Now we click edit. We don't click import yet, we click edit. This opens up our reflow editor. This is how we at Grace Point build songs. As you can see, it already laid out everything basically 2 slides apart. There's a few ones. It's because it had an uneven amount, so it only put 1 on there, which is what we would have done anyway. Let's start at the top. As you can see, it already built out verse 1, verse 2. It already detected what's what. But I like to always start with a background. We do that by clicking this arrow, going to group, and our group is background. Starts as a background. Then we're going to reattach verse 1 to this guy. We start with background, so we have a place for our copyright licensing information to go. That's required in order to stay legal. And we also have something to trigger the background of our song. That is always the first slide, background. Then, first verse, how firm a foundation. Sometimes I'll add in some differences, like how firm a foundation, comma, you saints of the Lord, is laid for your faith and his excellent word. What more can he say than to you he has said, to you who for refuge to Jesus have fled. This is a modern remake of the hymn, How Firm a Foundation. Fear not, he is with us. Be not dismayed. Sometimes I'll add some punctuation. He is our God, our sustainer in strength. He'll be our defender and cause us to stand upheld by his merciful, almighty hand. Merciful, almighty hand. All right, now we're in our chorus. How firm a foundation. How sure our salvation. And we will not be shaken. Jesus' firm foundation. The soul that is trusting in Jesus as Lord. I just kind of go through this. Take a look. Press on under in the dark storm. I'll never, no never forsake. And we repeat that line. Now, if you look, this bridge didn't quite detect it because it's in all capitals and there's no color attached to it. So we'll hit that arrow, group, bridge. Now it looks better. H-A-Z stands. Now the way this works, if you know the song, we're going to actually split these up because it will sing better if we split those up. But he will remain. He will remain. We'll keep that alone. Then also at the end, once I get all my sections done, there's one more thing I want to do. I want to copy Jesus Firm Foundation because at the end, we're singing that line alone. We're going to make that on its own, and we're going to call it a tag. That way we have that handy just in case we need it. Then he will remain. Insert a blank slide at the end. What I always like to do is create a blank slide. That's really nice for instrumentals, for parts where there's just no lyrics. We can throw that blank slide up. There, that is our completed song. We have our title, we have our publishing info. We do want to display the copyright. That's legal. That's the song CCLI number. Song was written in 2012. We'll import that song. Jesus Firm Foundation is now in our song library, but there's no arrangement attached. We'll click on our arrangements. I personally know the arrangement. You might need some help from me. Most of the time, I'll load this in beforehand anyway, but it's good for you to see how to do it. This arrangement is the Worship Initiative arrangement. How firm a foundation. We're going to put a blank slide between these verses because there's a little kind of musical thing there. Chorus, blank. We're not using the tag yet. Then we got our verse 3. Then we got our chorus. Then we have a blank slide before the bridge. Then we've got our chorus. Now at the end, I made that tag on purpose because we're going to repeat Jesus Firm Foundation a few times. We're going to do that twice. So that is our quick arrangement. There we go. It all built it out for us. Now, one thing we'll do is add a worship background to it. Normally I'll do worship backgrounds all at the same time while programming lighting. It's helpful. But we'll just throw a random one in here. This one's pretty cool. Boom. Now we added it. When you click on that first slide, as you can see, it's automatically showing. You can't really read it right now, but it's automatically showing that it required CCLI information. Then, how firm a foundation, you saints of the Lord, builds it out for us, which is nice. Just click or arrow keys, either way, or spacebar will get you through it. If you do arrow keys, you can go backward, which you don't really have to do if the arrangement is built correctly, or if whoever is leading worship throws you off and jumps to something that's not on there. All right, let's go back to our playlist, Jesus Firm Foundation, songs, and we will throw that in there. Just drag it in. Looks like the arrangement was already selected. Yep, so that's good. Now we have 2 songs in. To God Be the Glory is another new one. I'm going to throw this in really quickly. I'm not going to show it on video because you already know how to do that. All right, now that we have To God Be the Glory done, I'm going to open that up. Go to my songs library, find To God Be the Glory, or you can search for it and drag it in. Next up, we have our elder-led prayer. We're going to go to our service elements, find our elder-led prayer. Elder-led prayer tab, oh, it looks messed up. Right-click, go and resize that. Our elder-led prayer tab is basically just names. We have all of our elders in there. Right now, Deepak is scheduled. So assuming he doesn't decline, we'll go ahead and put him in there. Make sure that slide's enabled. What these blank slides with this X is, that just blanks out everything. It closes all backgrounds, all foregrounds. It's just an exit. And then there's Deepak, Pastor Elder. Again, we have our 10-second timer on these guys. All right. Now we are going to build out our message. Most likely you will be doing this at some point. Now, we don't have our sermon notes yet for November 22nd, but we're going to go ahead and build out last Sunday, November 15th, because I have the sermon notes right in front of me. It is a habit of ours to make sure that the person running ProPresenter that Sunday has a copy of the sermon notes that the pastor's looking at in front of them. That is important to us because they're following along. They're making sure passages are put up, points are put up at the right time. It's really nice for that person to know the sermon just as well as the pastor. So let's go first to our libraries. We have a special library for messages. The first thing I will do is duplicate a previous one. That's just the easiest way to create a new one. I'm going to find here, last Sunday was Orphan Sunday. The Sunday before that was also a standalone service. So I'm going to go through and find the previous Gospel of John that looks right. Here we go. I think the 27th I'm going to use. Yep, we'll use the 27th because we have our scripture sermon points. We got our graphics, as you can see. We'll right-click on that, and we will duplicate. There we go. We're going to rename that to 10. This is technically the 15th. So now I'll go through and I'll just kind of delete all of this stuff. We're not using it, but what's nice is I will keep one of these points to use as a template. So I'll just select all this. How I did that is I I'll click here where it's orange, shift select, then I'll shift command and go through and select everything here. You can also hit command to select individual slides, but shift will select all the slides in a group. Delete. All right, here's something we can build off of. Now, first of all, on the 15th, this is good. On the 15th, Chad preached, not Chris. So we're going to go through, hit quick edit. Quick edit is really nice if you don't want to change any formatting, but you just want to change text. So Chad Kettler. And he is the lead pastor. All right, there we go. Chad Kettler, lead pastor. We've also got this slide right here, and they have these labels down here on the bottom. Live stream series logo and live stream blank. The difference between these two, you can see there's a timer on this one. There's not a timer on this one. Live stream logo is so that on the live stream, when we click on this, the little Gospel of John logo pops up for our online viewers. That's really nice because they cannot see the screen, but it gives them a little indicator of what we're doing. After 10 seconds, it will disappear and go to this slide. So I always like to have one of these hanging out at the very beginning. So you click on that one first, and then it automatically goes to that. You just got to make sure that that next slide is the same thing, but it's a blank one for the live stream. So we will use that live stream blank throughout the sermon. All right, I'm looking at my sermon notes here, and I'll have these pages on the screen as well. The first passage that Chad is preaching is Psalm 42, verses 1 through 2. We're going to go to our Bible, and we're going to type that in. Psalm 42, 1 through 2. Here's Psalm 42, verses 1 through 2. If you hit up here in options, you have these different ways you can have the scripture show up. This is how we prefer to have our scriptures right now. To show the verse numbers, to break on a new verse, so every verse will be a different slide. Otherwise, if you do that, it will all show up on one slide as much as it can fit. But we like it this way. We do a lot of expository preaching. It's really nice to hang out on a verse. So, break on a new verse. Let's look over here. We have our verse references. We can show the passage, the entire passage on each slide, or only the passage on the last slide. As you can see, it took it away from the first slide here. We could show no reference, or we can show the reference for each one. We like to do passage on each. All right. We can also choose our theme. For the message, we're currently doing the Scripture Gotham 1. We have a few different versions. We change it up depending on the series, but for this series, we're doing this one. And really the difference is we have our passage, we have our reference here in the bottom left corner. So that's what we're doing. We're going to import, or we're not going to import that. But anyway, here is our scripture. What I'll do is I'll hit my shift, select those, make sure they're blue, and I will command, based on Windows, command is the same thing as control. So command C is edit, copy. So command C, copy it, go back to our show. Let me get rid of this passage. Command V is paste. Now we've added it in here. Now there's something important about these passages. As you can see, they're breaking early. That's how the Psalms are formatted. It's formatted in these stanzas because it's very poetic. So when you click on these, oh, look at this. On the live stream, it looks kind of weird, doesn't it? That's because a look is not established here. If we right-click on this scripture, add an audience look, and we call it Teaching Scripture. We also have Teaching Point, Teaching Blank, Teaching Sermon Series. Teaching Sermon Series is this look right here, where you can see the sermon series. So we will add Teaching Scripture to it. Now when I go here, Now we have this nice background, we have our reference, and we have our scripture. It will pop up as a lower third above this video. This one is set to teaching blank. Yes, teaching blank, so nothing will show up. And when you create a look, everything after it will be affected by that look, unless the next slide has a look itself. We prefer to make every slide in the message have a look. Even though that next slide doesn't technically need one, look, if I am on here and I click on this slide, it's going to show up weird, unless this has a look. Now, no matter what, if I jump to here, you know, it's going to look correct. Now, there's something unique about these passages that have line breaks. As you can see, our live stream only shows 3 lines of text. That's plenty of space unless there's line breaks. So we prefer, unless we can get that whole passage on there, we prefer to go in, what am I doing? Go in and hit edit. Now in our edit window, we haven't really looked at this yet, but as you can see, it's up here. This is just more detailed editing. Click here. Delete. Make sure to add our space. I like to get rid of those breaks. And you know what? We're going to go ahead and do it here too. And because this passage is so short, we can choose to Command copy, Command paste. Go ahead and put them on one slide. Go and delete that. So now we have both those verses on one slide. That's handy. Now, as you can see, there's no background. If I click on here, which is set as a background, and then I click here, now that text looks weird on the projector. So we're going to go to our Gospel of John series, and we have a background specifically made. Just drag it on there, nice and easy. There's our background for scriptures. Now we're going to go to our next one. It is Psalm 27:4. Same process, Psalm 27:4. Ooh, look at that one. It's got a lot of breaks in it. We want to take those breaks out. Otherwise, when we click on that on the live stream, we don't get the whole verse. We only get the top 3 lines. So, edit. Go through and take all those breaks out. I delete and then have it add a space bar. Make sure it looks right. That looks good to me. There we go. Now we get the whole verse. Yes, we do. Looks like there's still a break there. Let's fix that. It's this one right here, I believe. Yep, there we go. We fixed it. All right. Now, we could go through and add a background every time or add a look every time. But it's easier to get through the whole message, then go back and select all of the scriptures and add a look, or just throw the background on all the scriptures. Unfortunately, I don't know of a way to apply this background to every single passage right now, so I just drag them in. Next scripture, Psalm 105. 105. This is verses 1 through 5. Now, I'm using my judgment here. The way this message looks is these are not even the main passage that he's going to be unpacking. These are scriptures that are like pre-service, almost a prayer over the message. So I'm going to go ahead, hold down my shift key, select all those, Command copy, Command paste. Because these are kind of a pre-service prayer, I'm going to try to get all these as much as I can on the same slide. So first thing I'm going to do is go to my edit window, take out these breaks. All right, took out my breaks. Now I'm going to kind of compile some of these passages. We'll start with this first slide. So we're not having 5 slides. We can put them on multiple different slides. You know what? Let's break it again on verse 3. That looks good. And then this last one, let's keep that alone. You can use your judgment on that. So we moved this one over, we moved this one over. I'm holding down the Command key. If I hold down Command, I can select, cross separate individual slides. If I hold down Shift, I can select a whole group of slides. So I just want to delete this guy and this guy. There we go. Now we have these on 3 different. Go ahead and add my backgrounds to them. Now you're going to want to go through the entire message and do this. Sometimes Chad will have sermon points. For this Sunday's service, we do not have sermon points. But if you have a sermon point, it's nice to pull one of these and use it as a template. So you can quick edit, call it point 1. Jesus is King. There we go. That's a great sermon point. Click on there. This also has its own audience look, and it's called Teaching Point. As you can see, it looks slightly different than the message, but you still have, or it's slightly different than the passage, the scriptures, but you have a special audience look for that. Jesus is King. Now, if you look from Jesus is King, clicking on this one that doesn't have a look, it looks kind of weird. So when we finish the message, we're going to go through all of our scriptures, select it all. We're going to add an audience look, teaching scripture. Make sure that all of our scriptures have an audience look. Make sure all of our points have an audience look. I like to use these as blank slides between all the passages. So I'll put a blank slide, between there. I always like to throw a few on there. I just keep pasting them. Make sure we have a blank slide at the end. I like to always have a blank slide at the end and always have a blank slide at the beginning. And then we can add our passages. You see our next passage is John 2. This is our main passage. John 2, 1 through 11. Select that whole thing. Shift, click, Command C for copy. Click there, Command V for paste. Boom. They're all separated. One thing you might want to do is compile those. If you don't, you can use your judgment on that. If you want to put a few slides together, but I would read the passage, look at it, look at his notes, try to kind of figure out how that flow may work. If you have these longer passages, you're going to want to make sure that they're going to show up on the whole thing. So here's our verse. We're going to add our background to all of these. Unfortunately, you have to do it individually. It takes a little bit of time, but it's not that big of a deal. Just drag it in there on all of our passages. Now we're going to select that whole passage. Got the whole thing. And we're going to add an action audience look teaching scripture. Now when we click on that, it shows it correctly. You'll want to look here and see that bridegroom is that last passage. You can also look over physically to your left and see on the live stream that bridegroom is the last word. We are getting that whole verse. You want to especially look at those long ones to make sure that it's showing up. All right, so that's basically how to load in a message. You'll want to just go through, once you're done, double check all those audience looks, all those backgrounds. Just make sure everything flows like you want it to. Again, you'll have those sermon notes in front of you, which will make it easier. Now, we're going to go back to our service plan, hit our message, and load that message in. Click on messages, find that one we just did, which was, I think I called it 10:15. It's supposed to be 11:15. Is that the one we just did? Yep. We're going to fix that. Have to go back here. Messages. There it is, 11:15. Put it in order for us. Just drag it in. There we go. Now it's in our plan. Prayer, we don't have a specific drop for prayer, so we'll just cancel that. It keeps prayer there, but it removes that drop box. Now communion. Service elements. We have a few different types of communion. We do a communion scripture, and we also do a communion liturgy. The communion scripture is just Chad or whoever's doing it reads these scriptures. One passage is for the bread, one passage is for the cup. This Sunday, though, in particular, we're doing the communion liturgy. This is for the pastor speaks, congregation responds, that kind of a thing. So we're going to go to our playlist, communion, and in that communion Dropbox, we'll go to our service elements and drag in the communion liturgy. There we go. Easy enough. This already has audience looks, but you kind of want to double check, make sure it looks good. This audience look actually grays out the video a little bit and shows the whole thing. It's kind of different and kind of weird to show that whole thing on the live stream, but in this case, I tried to make that work. We'll see how it looks. All right, let's move on. We've got another song here. I know that we have this one in here, Man of Sorrows. But look, as you can see, these brackets mean they have arrangements. This one doesn't have an arrangement attached. So, because it doesn't, it's now in that master arrangement where all the parts are just kind of thrown together. You can hit this arrangement button, or you can right-click on it, go to arrangements. We are doing the Hillsong arrangement this Sunday. Boom, builds it out for you. It's really nice. So there we go. Then we have dismiss service elements. I actually do have a dismiss service element, and it's just a blank slide. It's nice to have that there. Then post service. I have a TV slides post service as well. There we go. This post service TV slide actually has this worship songs from today that we edit each week. So yeah, that's how that works. So then at the end of the service, you can pop this up and it will go through our TV slides as people dismiss. So after you're done building that out, I would go back to the top, look over everything. You can always change, keep an eye on those worship backgrounds. You can always change them, communicating with the lighting person to match colors, match lighting. But all you have to do that is, to change that is just, grab this one, drag it in, just covers it up, then we'll go back to our projector here. Goes back to it. So, yep. That's all up to you guys how you want to do that. All right. So, that is how to load a service. You don't have to save ProPresenter or anything. It automatically saves every time you do something, which is really nice to have in case it crashes. We'll go ahead and close that media bin because we're not using it. Now to run the service, like we've said, you can click. We need to close that. There it is. Got to close that announcements layer. You can click. You can use your arrow keys to get through a element. You can also use your power or your play button. That's how to run ProPresenter on Sundays. All right, so thank you for taking the time to watch this. There's a lot more that goes into ProPresenter. There's a lot of things we didn't cover, but those are the major things we use to put together a service. When it comes to Sundays, there's some guidelines and things that we put into practice about, or like how quickly do you change the lyric slides, or when do you put those scriptures up? Just some things to go by. All of that will be written out for you on a piece of paper at your station on Sunday morning, just to keep you aware of those guidelines. So that way, no matter who is running the lyrics, no matter who is running ProPresenter, it's always consistent week to week. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this. I hope it was helpful for you. Feel free to refer back to this if you need to relook at how to import a song or relook at how to do something. It's a great video to be a reminder for you. That's one of the goals. All right, we're finished. Have a good week, and thank you so much for serving.